Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. So, Pixar just released a new TV show, and it is actually absolutely insanely good. And I wanted to come on here and kind of just make a quick video talking about it. And I just wanted to address this before I get too far into this video. I'm going to be talking about Pixar. I am a diehard Pixar fan. I think I've said in plenty of videos in the past that Pixar is my by far favorite film studio of all time. I feel like they've never really made a bad movie. They have movies like Lightyear that are okay, but I don't think they've ever made anything bad. So the fact that they're doing TV shows is incredibly exciting to me. And this TV show so far is absolutely incredible. We're talking about a show called Win or Lose. And I really like the way that this show is toying around with different perspectives. It has a lot of fun animation styles, a lot of fun animation sequences. And they've only released the first 2 episodes, but I can tell you just based off these first 2 episodes alone, this show is going to be something incredibly special. So that being said, let's dive into this video, shall we? Okay, so before I get too far into this video, I do want to go ahead and say this. I literally have the Pixar lamp tattooed onto my body. I am a huge fan of Pixar. I am going to be incredibly emotionally invested in these projects, a little more than the average person probably. But that being said, this show, they have 2 episodes out right now. They have the weird Disney Plus thing where it's like the runtime, we'll say it's like 25 minutes. It's closer to 18 minutes because the credits themselves are 7 minutes for whatever reason. But the first episode is called The Coach's Daughter. And in this episode, I'm not going to get too far into the details because it is an incredibly emotionally driven show. And I think that every single episode that they have is probably going to be incredibly emotional, which I am not prepared for. But the first episode deals with, obviously, the character who is the daughter of a coach. This show, for people who do not know, takes place throughout the course of 1 week in between the semi-finals for this big championship game and then the actual championship game itself. And the whole storyline is that there's this group of girls who play Little League baseball or softball. I believe it's softball, my bad. And they just go through from their perspective what the week leading up to this big championship game is. So the first character is obviously, like I said, the daughter of the coach. And she has a lot of issues that she's struggling with where a lot of people feel like she probably doesn't need to be on the team because she is the coach's daughter and she feels like she doesn't live up to a lot of the other players on the team. She's not really good and she really just wants to prove herself. And she has this very interesting character arc of having to train, practice. And they give her this cool subplot element that I really liked where her depression, her self-doubt kind of like embodies itself in this little guy that was made out of her tears, and it's this little creature that just kind of like sits on her shoulder. And as the week goes on, she feels more stress, more pressure to get everything right, and it slowly grows and grows and grows. And I really like the way that they embodied this emotion that this character is dealing with, and I really thought that that was something special. And while we were watching this episode and the way that certain things played out, I was incredibly locked into this show. I think that it is incredibly emotionally driven, and it has so much heart to it that is absolutely insane. Obviously, it is Pixar, so at the end of the day, it does kind of feel like it's for kids. There's going to be some humor in here that doesn't necessarily work for you if you are somebody who's older. But that being said, you can feel the emotional through line that is incredibly important. The importance of family and how it is important that, you know, you want to spend time with the people you love and you always want to make the people you love proud. I think that that's something that is very big when you are somebody who has, you know, parents that you really look up to and you really want them to love and appreciate you and really love you for who you are. Sometimes you feel this extra pressure to do even better when they're there because you want to make them proud. And so on top of her just, you know, wanting to make her dad proud because, you know, it's her father, he's also the coach. So it's that much extra pressure to do even better. I really love that story. I thought that was great. I'm not going to dive too far into what happens with that story because I do think these episodes, like I said, there's only 2 out right now, are incredibly emotional, and I would definitely recommend going and watching them because they both made me tear up. They're both incredibly good. So without getting into the deeper themes of that episode, that's kind of the gist of the first episode. It was incredibly cool. It was incredibly special. And then the second episode starts off, and we're back at kind of the beginning of the last episode. The game ended with somebody catching a ball in the outfield and then throwing somebody who was trying to steal a base and get them out as well, something like that. And we're seeing things now from the umpire's point of view, which I thought was an interesting twist. I was kind of expecting this to be like, okay, well, we saw this from the daughter's point of view. Now we're going to see it from the father's point of view. Or, oh, now we're going to see it from, you know, this other baseball player's point of view. But seeing that we're also getting the umpire's point of view is incredibly interesting because, like, he's just this guy who, like, refs this game but he also happens to be a teacher at the school that a lot of these girls go to. And it's very interesting kind of seeing that he kind of has this double life of he's the umpire, and the way that they treat him as the umpire is incredibly cool. He's making these calls. He's getting attacked by a lot of parents who are just like, that was a bad call. That was absolutely terrible. And they show the way that he kind of has to deal with that retaliation by putting up these shields, putting up these like metaphorical walls, but because it is an animated show, he actually puts on this suit of armor, and I think that that's incredibly cool. And as somebody who has refereed soccer, I feel that a lot. Sometimes you just gotta like put on a tough face and just kind of like say, I stand by what I called. This is what I saw happen, and this is how I called it. This is how we're going to continue the game. And I think that that is partially what made this episode even more emotional to me. I really could relate to this character. But you have this character who has so much pressure put on him throughout this course of this baseball game, because like everybody's obviously just there to watch their kid and have a really good time. But sometimes one bad call ruins the entire day for you, and you're out in the hot sun. You're very emotional. You want to take it out on somebody. The umpire is usually the person you would take it out on. So we see him leaving that game and going home to his single one-bedroom apartment, very depressed, very sad. We see him going to school, and he's trying his best to be a really good teacher, and he's always struggling with, is he being too hard on his students? But at the same time, his students do need to learn. His students need to be held accountable. One of the students is somebody who is on the baseball team, and they cheated on a test, and he's having to have a teacher-parent conference with her, and that's interesting. And he has so much on his plate that he's kind of dealing with outside of work and just being an umpire. And once again, because I want you to watch this yourself, it's on Disney Plus right now. It is insanely emotional. I'm not going to get too far into what happens, but his story that he has outside of just being a teacher and an umpire is incredibly, incredibly emotional. And he's somebody who is, you know, single, and he's trying to get into the dating world, and he's having a really hard time of kind of like letting himself out there a lot, because like he's so devoted to making sure that, you know, he's taking care of these kids because he's an umpire for them, and he's also a teacher for them. He really cares about their well-being and looking out for them, and he's a really good guy, and he's incredibly anxious, and he has all these walls that he sets up because he's, you know, constantly being attacked, and he's constantly having to deal with a lot of pressure. And so he has these walls and this armor that he's wearing, and, you know, he's trying to interact with different people and potentially trying to like flirt with people and trying to like put himself out there more, and it's really scary for him. And by the end of the episode, he takes off all of the armor because he finally thinks that he's ready to put himself out there. And I think it is incredibly cool. I think it is an incredible emotional journey. And like I said, this is just an 18 episode of a TV show, and it is so emotionally driven and incredible, and the character arcs in the story is just so well done. I absolutely loved everything they did with the second episode. Like I said, I 10 out of 10 would recommend going and watching both of these episodes right now. Both of these episodes got me incredibly emotionally invested, did an incredible job of having a cool character arc and character story throughout the entire course of the episode. They use different animation styles. They use different kind of music and lighting and color tones to kind of set the mood. And they do an incredible job of kind of showcasing things that you do in your everyday mundane life in a way that's more exciting. Like in the second one, like I said, the guy's trying to put himself out there more. They have dating apps. And the way that they have the dating apps visualized in the show is so much more interesting than a dating app. And I think that that was a whole lot of fun. And there's just a lot of elements like that that I really enjoyed. And I also just like the emotional vulnerability that all of the characters have been showing in this show so far. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm really excited to see where this series goes. So I will probably be making another full-length review of this show whenever the full thing is out. But as of right now, those are the first 2 episodes. And I was able to talk about it for that long because I really enjoyed it and I really would recommend it. So that being said, if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. Like I said, it's called Win or Lose on Disney Plus. I really enjoyed it, and I would totally recommend it. But that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. And if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe. I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow. Bow. Bow.